Jai Janendra. In the last class, I was talking about vital powers and biopotentials, and we saw that the vital powers exist in the form of a bioelectricity in the body. That's very important inference which we draw by the combined study of Jain philosophy and science. Today we shall talk about biopotentials, what we call as a Paryapti. And I would like to read that one passage again, which is very important. प्राण और पर्याप्ति का कार्य कारण संबंध है. जीवन शक्ति को पौद्गलिक शक्ति की अपेक्षा रहती है. जन्म के पहले क्षण में प्राणी कई पौद्गलिक शक्तियों की रचना करता है. उनके द्वारा स्वयोग्य पुद्गलों का ग्रहण, परिणमन व उत्सर्जन होता है. इनकी रचना प्राण शक्ति के अनुपात पर होती है. जिस प्राणी में जितनी प्राण शक्ति की योग्यता होती है, वह उतनी ही पर्याप्तियों का निर्माण कर सकता है. प्राण जीव है और पर्याप्ति पुद्गल है. ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण बिंदु है. प्राणियों के शरीर के माध्यम से होने वाली जितनी क्रियाएं हैं, वे सब आत्मशक्ति व पौद्गलिक शक्ति दोनों के पारस्परिक सहयोग से होती है. English translation of this passage. Prana and Paryapti have cause and effect relationship. Power of living needs the power of Pudgal or matter. In the first instant of birth, the living being creates many Pudgal powers. The living being, Jeev, assimilates, transforms and changes the Pudgalas suitable for life. These processes proceed according to the proportion of vital powers. A living being, Jeev, is able to construct as much biopotential powers as are the quantum of vital powers. Vital powers are living and biopotential powers are Pudgal. So we emphasize here that the biopotentials, which we are going to talk about today, are Pudgal, they are material entities. Whatever activities a Jeev performs through the body, these all take place with the mutual cooperation of the powers of the soul and the powers of the body. So we now talk of biopotentials, Paryapti. What is Paryapti? Paryapti is necessary preparation for new life. So when the new life begins, Paryapti is the first thing now which is done by the soul. Major decisions about the life, such as the place of birth, form of the body, gender, body with or without deficiency, etc., have been made in the last life. That is, say for example, a person dies. What will be the form of life in the next birth is decided in this life itself. So, what kind of decisions are made? Place of birth, where the next birth would be. Form of what will be the form of the next body? Gender, what will be the gender of that body? And whether the body will be deficient or will not be deficient. All such decisions have been had or are taken in this life itself. Then the soul migrates from this body to another body. So when it assumes another body, the first step in this life, that is in the next life, is to execute these decisions which are contained in the Karman body. So all these decisions, which I just now told you, they are all stored in the Karman body, and we know that the Karman body goes along with the soul in the next life, and there all the decisions are present in the Karman body. The only thing is that these decisions are to be executed. How these are executed, there the role comes of Paryapti. So these Paryaptis or biopotentials are of 6 kinds, So that is, in a way, 6 kinds of preparations are made before the life, the growth starts, in the next life. The first Paryapti is called Ahar Paryapti or food biopotential. Food biopotential is the power of the soul so that the body appropriates nourishment. When the life begins, the nourishment has to be arranged in the first instant, and the Ahar Paryapti plays the role, not only in the first instant, thereafter through the entire life, how the nourishment is appropriated is decided by Ahar Paryapti. Then next is Sharir Paryapti, body biopotential. Body biopotential is the power of the soul for making the body. How the body will be constructed, So the biopotential provides the power for this kind of activity. The next is Indriya Paryapti, sensing system biopotential. This biopotential ensures proper functioning of the sensing system. The sensing system itself is formed according to Nam Karma, as we know, but the functioning of the sense organs and the entire system of sensing is regulated or controlled by Indriya Paryapti, what is known as sensing biopotential. Swachoswas Paryapti, respiration biopotential. This biopotential ensures proper functioning of the respiratory system. Again, I would like to emphasize that the respiratory system is formed according to the Nam Karma. Then how this system would function depends upon this Paryapti, Swachoswas Paryapti. So these are all powers, Then Bhasha Paryapti, speech biopotential. This biopotential ensures proper speech production and transmission. Although the vocal system and other systems related to speech are formed by Nam Karma, but their functioning again is controlled by Bhasha Paryapti, speech biopotential. So this power. And lastly, we have Manabal Paryapti or mind biopotential. This biopotential enables receipt of subtle matter for making the mind. So mind, as we know, is made up of Manovargana, and it's a subtle unit. And how this mind would function is determined by Manabal Paryapti. Now, one thing which is mentioned in scripture is that all Paryaptis, all powers developed simultaneously right in the beginning of life. That is, just after the zygote is formed and the new soul enters this zygote. So, we know from biology that a zygote is formed by combination of the sperms and egg, and then this zygote is in fact a yoni, or is a place where a soul can enter. So the soul now enters, new soul, which is taking birth, enters the zygote. And after that, the new life begins. Now the new life begins, and here the Paryaptis are developed, the powers are developed. And all 6 Paryaptis developed simultaneously at this moment. The process is fast, and the development of powers is completed in less than 1 Indian hour, that is less than 48 minutes. It could be few minutes. So the powers developed very fast because now the life has to begin, So they developed very fast. In a short time, all the powers are developed. How the time of completion, however, the time of completion of each power is different. And there are 6 powers, as I told you. Their development starts simultaneously at the same instant, but they are completed one by one. But all of them are completed within 48 minutes. The food biopotential is completed first, followed by other powers. Now, this is what the Jain scriptures say. Now we have to understand this, what does it mean in scientific terms, how do we understand that in terms of biological knowledge. So the question is, what actually happens to the zygote, which is about 1/10 of a millimeter of size. You must know what is the size of a cell in the body. Is approximately 1/10 of a millimeter. It's such a small entity. And what happens to this in just few minutes, so that all Paryaptis or powers are completed. So this is what we have to understand. What really happens, what is the process taking place. Now, in order to answer this question, we take resort of the scientific knowledge, or scientific perspective. What does the science say? I am quoting another passage here. योनुभूत वीर्य की स्थिति जगन्य अंतर मुहूर्त और उत्कृष्ट 12 मुहूर्त की होती है. That means, the sperm has a life, the minimum life of few minutes, and the maximum life could be 12 into 48 minutes. So roughly 10 hours, say for example. गर्भ में प्रवेश पाते समय जीव का पहला आहार ओज और वीर्य होता है. When the life enters the zygote, the first nourishment is said to be of the zygote or the ovum and sperm, because the zygote has been formed with the fusion of ovum and sperm. So that is the first nourishment the soul receives. And thereafter, स्व प्रायोग्य पुद्गलों का आकर्षण और संग्रह करते हैं. So once this happens, then of course further nourishment starts. This is what has been said. So I will not go through the entire passage. This is what is important here. So we must understand that how the first nourishment takes place. In order to appreciate this, why this happens, consider that once the zygote is formed, and this zygote is, when it is formed, is a part of mother's body. It is there in the mother's body, and it's a part of the body of the mother. Now, in order that the new soul starts its growth, the body growth, the zygote has to be first acquired by the new soul. That is the first thing. So And the zygote, is the part of the mother's body, and obviously the Karman body and the Tejas body of the mother are controlling its activities, So the zygote is being controlled by mother. So the first thing for starting new life is transfer of zygote from mother to the incoming soul. So the zygote, the ownership of the zygote is transferred, from the mother to the new soul, which is now taking birth. And I have shown here in the diagram, you see the zygote, and the mother's soul is leaving the zygote, and the new soul is entering the zygote, This exchange takes place. This is the first thing. And what does that mean? This is ahar paryapti. This is the first nourishment, that the soul receives the zygote as essential nourishment. So this is the first nourishment the soul receives. This is followed by exchange of Karman body and Tejas body, and that ensures that the essential biological structure in the new body is made by the karma of this new soul. Not only that the zygote is transferred to the new soul, but earlier the zygote was being controlled by the Karman body of the mother. Now this new soul which is coming is having its own Karman body and Tejas body. So therefore the zygote now must be controlled by the Karman body of the new soul. So in a way, the Karman body and Tejas body in the zygote are also replaced from mother to the new soul. Okay. So the zygote now is under control of the new soul. It has a Karman body, it has a Tejas body. So that means now whatever further growth takes place in the zygote is now according to the Karman or the karma of the new incoming soul, and not according to the karma of the mother. So this part we must understand very clearly. The next step, according to science, DNA has the key role in deciding the architecture, structure and operation of the body, that we know. And according to Jain philosophy, the architecture, the plan of construction is contained in the Nam Karma. This means that information from the Nam Karma is transferred to DNA of the zygote. You see, zygote is having a DNA, and that DNA is the result of the DNA of both parents, mother and the father. But the zygote has a DNA. Now, this DNA is not according to the new soul, this DNA is according to the parents. And if the DNA has to control the growth activity and the construction activity, that means this DNA has to be transformed according to the karmas of the new soul. This is an important point, So that means the DNA has to experience change. The DNA is now modified by the incoming soul according to its own Nam Karma, so that the construction proceeds according to the karma of the new soul. So you understand that. So the transformation of the DNA according to the Nam Karma of the new soul is what is known as this Paryapti, what is called as ahar Paryapti and other Paryaptis. So Paryaptis then are concerned with this transfer process, okay? And what kind of transfer takes place in DNA is another thing, whether it is the transformation or changes in the genes, or whether there are changes taking place in the non-coding region of DNA. This we do not know, but we do anticipate that maybe that there are changes in both. Genes are being changed as well as the DNA structure is being changed according to the Nam Karma of the incoming soul. How this happens is not immediately clear. As I said, we do not know actually what is happening. We can only make a speculation. One strong possibility is that this happens through biophotons, a concept which we will discuss in another lecture. The first step in making the body is division of cell. The zygote has to divide. That means the zygote has to receive nourishment, first, and that nourishment is received from the mother's body. And then the zygote divides, so there is a division of cell. And these cells which divide, then have to arrange in a particular pattern so as to form the body. So cells divide and arrange in a desired pattern to produce proteins. And this process depends on metabolism. Successful completion of this process or this basic step can be regarded as Sharir Paryapti. Sharir Paryapti, relates to formation of body. And the formation of body takes place through proteins. The proteins had to be arranged, the molecules of the proteins or the cells in the protein had to be arranged in a particular order so that, the required kind of protein is produced in the body. And we know that, different kinds of proteins are produced in different organs and different parts of the body. So this whole mechanism, by the knowledge of biology. So this process, when it is completed, this would be known as Sharir Paryapti. Now the cells organized in a definite pattern to form organs and parts of the body. So the cells had to be organized, as I told you, in a definite pattern to produce proteins, enzymes and so on, and which ultimately form the body parts. Although complete body of the organism is formed as per plan in Nam Karma, some important specific systems are considered essential for survival of the organism. So Jain philosophy, lays emphasis on some important parts of the organism. They are essential, for the body to be formed. These are, what are these essential parts according to Jainism? Senses, number 1, brain, 2, number 3, heart and lungs, and 4, speech production system. So these are considered to be essential components of life, and without this the life cannot exist. And therefore these have been described separately in the literature, emphasizing that these are essential components. These systems are mentioned separately in Jain text to show their particular importance. Indriya Paryapti is successful transfer of information from carbon body to DNA for making and maintaining the sense organs and brain. And as I described in the last class, the brain is upkaran of sense organs. So Indriya Paryapti is it also a transfer of information from the carbon body of the new entering soul to the zygote DNA. Okay, and this information is required for making and maintaining the sense organs and the brain. So these parts are formed according to the powers of Indriya Paryapti, which again is the information transfer taking place in the new body. Then Swachoswas Paryapti is successful transformation or transfer of information for making and maintaining the heart-lung system. I told you in the last class that the Swachoswas Paryapti in fact refer to the combination of heart and lung, heart-lung system. And so in order that this system is formed properly, this successful information of transfer from the Karman body of the new soul to zygote is required. This is Swachoswas Paryapti. Then Vachan Paryapti consists of successful transfer of information for operation of the brain and the sound producing system. This is Vachan Paryapti. So, information or the installation of information, because all this information has to be installed in the Karman body of the DNA, the zygote DNA. So, the installation of information about these three systems or paryaptis in DNA is assisted by respirator, respective pranas. So, the pranas also here play an important role. If the pranas are not present in the sufficient measure, this information transfer will not be complete. This is what is emphasized here. So, in order that the information transfer is complete to the zygote DNA, the soul must have enough or sufficient pranas or the energy. So, that energy is required. This is emphasized. So, in the presence of only sufficient energy, or when the sufficient energy is available, then only this kind of transfer would be complete. Then what is Manah Paryapti? The Manah Paryapti may not work through DNA. Supposedly, a mind field is produced in the zygote by fruition of respective body making karma. Because the mind is not formed in the first instant, as we all know, it's in only the fetus when it's grown to a certain level, then the formation of mind takes place. So, in the first instant when there is only zygote, what is the meaning of Manah Paryapti? This is what we are trying to understand. So, most probably a field is produced, some kind of electromagnetic field, which acts as Dravyaman or mind, later on. So, that kind of field is produced in the zygote. Okay, and this is Manah Paryapti. And this happens because of fruition of respective body making karma. This field works as mind when brain is formed in the fetus. So, at a later stage, when the brain is formed and this field is present, then it works as mind, And as I told you earlier, that the mind and brain work together as they are coupled system. What actually happens in DNA during completion of paryaptis is a matter of investigation. Does it involve changes in gene structure or changes in the non-coding part of DNA that regulates the working of genes? But it is obvious or it is certain that the paryaptis are concerned with modification of DNA that forms proteins and the body structure. So, this is definitely the DNA structure is changing. What changes are taking place? We can only speculate, otherwise it has to be researched. In the above if the above explanation of paryapti is accepted as true, there are three important inferences. The explanation which I just now offered to you if that is correct. It means, some important aspects of the whole thing. The first thing, that the Jain Acharyas were aware of existence of cell structure of the body and a DNA-like unit in the cell. So if we accept this, that means it implies, by implication, we can say that the Jain Acharyas knew that the body consists of cells, number one, and cell consists something like DNA, which is being improved or which is being modified. Okay. Second, they knew that information from Karman body is transferred to the cell by making the physical structure of the body, for making the physical structure of the body. So they knew very well that the information from the Karman body of the incoming soul has to be transferred to the cell or the zygote. They did not call it zygote at that time. And lastly, it was known that this information transfer is completed in few minutes time after the new soul enters the zygote. So they knew that the whole process of transfer is very fast and it's completed in a few minutes. That is successful transfer is a prerequisite to formation of the body. The information transfer has to be successful or complete. If it is not that, then it is the birth is undeveloped. Okay, so we have Paryapti and Aparyapti concept. Paryapti means the whole information has been transferred successfully, and if it is not so, then it is underdeveloped body, and the body will not develop. Jain concepts have an important bearing on efforts to improve the quality of population by genetic control, we discussed earlier. According to science, genes are carriers of heredity and are supposed to determine the personality of the offspring. Jain philosophy agrees with this in a limited way and says that the personality of a person largely depends on his or her karma and less on the genes. So gene control has a marginal role in changing the quality of population. Some more scientific facts we will like to discuss here in order that we formally understand the Paryaptis. There are some recent researches I am talking of in development biology. Now this probably has been discussed with you by Dr. Bhatnagar earlier. So researchers in development biology have discovered how the body parts and organs are formed during developmental period, thus explaining how the Nam karma could work in the body. In development biology, bioelectricity refers to regulation of cell, tissue and organ level balancing and behavior as the result of endogenous electrically mediating signals. Cells in tissues of all types use ion fluxes to communicate electrically. Aligned and stacked cells generate transepithelial potential and electric fields, which likewise propagate across tissues. Together, these voltages and electric fields form rich and dynamic patterns inside living bodies that demarcate anatomical features, thus acting like blueprints for gene expression and morphogenesis of some instances. In some instances, what is emphasized here is that the electric patterns are being formed in the body. This is important for the growth and maintenance of body structure. So, the electric fields are important. By how they are produced this is described here, and that in fact points to the importance of bioelectricity and prana and paryapti. More than correlations, these bioelectrical distributions are dynamic, evolving with time and with the microenvironment to serve as instructive influences over cell behavior and large scale patterning during embryogenesis, regeneration and cancer suppression. These are the areas which have been studied by science, and in all such cases the scientists have found the role of electric patterns, bioelectric patterns. So we are speculating this is how the nam karma could work, through generating bioelectrical patterns which in turn regulate or control formation of body parts and the embryogenesis process or regeneration process, even cancer suppression. In the cancer suppression also one retards the growth of cells. So there also the electric patterns are very important. So for all biological processes, they are taking place through bioelectric patterns. That means pranas and paryaptis, because the powers are provided by paryaptis. Work in model systems such as Xenopus, Livis and zebrafish has revealed a role for bioelectric signaling in the development of heart, face, eye, brain and other organs. So the scientists have studied how the development of various kinds of organs are taking place in an organism, and they found that it is the bioelectric signaling which is responsible for this kind of development. So again the emphasis on bioelectricity signals, bioelectricity patterns, in the formation of various organs. Human disorders as well as numerous mouse mutants show that bioelectric signaling is important for human development. Even in the case of human studies, it has been found that bioelectric signaling, and bioelectric patterns are important for development. The effect of both genetic and exogenous disruption of ion channels lend insight into the importance of bioelectric signaling and development. So all kinds of biological studies are supporting the Jain belief that the bioelectricity or prana and paryapti, the powers, play an important role in the formation of the body, in the formation of parts and maintenance and operation of the body. There are very few fundamental differences between neural networks and other tissues of bioelectricity communicating cells. This way of thinking opens up exciting possibilities. It recognizes that there is perhaps some intelligence in all the body's bioelectric fields which are efficient sources of information transfer. So the biologists also accept that some kind of intelligence is working in the entire process, and this is very important because what is the source of intelligence? The atoms and molecules of which the cells are made, they have no intelligence. So the source of intelligence has to be something other than matter, and what is that? The scientists are not able to speak about. But we know that it is the soul. The soul has the intelligence. So that means the soul has to be there for the formation of the body. There is a need to study bioelectric phenomena in the body to understand the action of karma and prana. Karmas exist in electrical form, which acting with ions may control the body processes. So the karmas and the matter together, the body matter together, are controlling the whole thing. The bioelectric patterns in the body, beside the formation of tissues and organs, which is the function of the nam karma. So clearly, nam karma is behind the formation of these patterns. This is what we want to emphasize. The scientists say, biologists say that there are biological or electric patterns, bioelectricity patterns. But what we are saying that these patterns exist because of nam karma. So we are giving a specific reason why such a thing is happening in the body. A clear understanding of this process would be a great step forward in establishing Jain philosophy on a scientific platform. So I expect that some of you would take this study further and try to bring out the importance of the knowledge contained in the Jain philosophy, that how the knowledge in Jain philosophy is actually working in the body through all these mechanisms. So one has to understand the body mechanisms and try to correlate the knowledge of Jain philosophy with science. Thank you.